What's up, everybody? This is Smarty P from SmartyPantsCoding.com, and this is a quick video, kind of first impressions after having used this Windows Surface RT tablet for a couple of hours today. This is Microsoft's first tablet. This is actually their first piece of PC hardware. Microsoft, they make the Xbox, they've made Zune in the past, some keyboards and mice, but they've never really made full-on desktop PCs or laptops, and so this is their first entry into that. So just to start off, the industrial design of this thing and the overall aesthetic is absolutely amazing. It's very well put together. It feels very solid. They're doing a lot with reinforcing some of the decisions they've made in their packaging. So like they reference this angle here of how it comes off the bevel. You'll see that same angle reflected through their packaging. You'll see references to this hinge through their packaging. And the dock that this thing has for charging uses a bunch of magnetic dots. This uses similar magnetic dots for the keyboard. And you see that kind of played up throughout the thing. The charger for it, for instance, obviously it's got the dots where the magnets all line up, but it has a light on the end that lights up as well. And you see these dots appear, in the progress bar. You see these lines appear in the packaging and the colors throughout. And just, you could tell that Microsoft has a bunch of design chops now. People obviously have harassed them for several years to get that game together. And seeing this device come out of Microsoft is just absolutely amazing. Regardless of whether the screen size is exactly the right size for you or not, that's a personal question. But it's really going to be hard for anyone to deny the overall craftsmanship and the build quality of this device. If I were someone like a Dell or HP, I'd be pretty weary of if Microsoft decides to go in the laptop business as well, because obviously the MacBook Pro has pretty well dominated the design in that field for a while, and only now are people like HP kind of stealing that design to try and compete. And after seeing this come out of Microsoft, I'm pretty sure Microsoft would be able to compete pretty well straight out of the gate if that was something they decided they wanted to do. So one of the first things that stood out to me whenever I was looking at this thing was, hey, there's a USB, right? There's full-size USB port on this thing. I have several other tablets and devices because, I develop on a bunch of different platforms and whatnot, but none of them have a USB port. I have adapters that will let me use USB items on my iPad or whatnot, but this thing has it straight out the gate, which is pretty nice. So I was able to just straight away plug in this jump drive that I had in my pocket, and then it just comes right up and shows me everything that's on it, just like you would expect on a full-on machine. So that's kind of nice. It makes it where you can browse files that are on. You can do basic file management. Like if I needed to format this drive, I've got full permissions to format it. I can create new zip files. I can copy stuff off to it and onto another jump drive. Kind of utilitarian tasks that really make this thing more of a tool than maybe other tablets that maybe aren't as useful for something like that. Actually, while I was recording this video, I ran out of space on my SD card, so I plugged this SD card reader into it, and it pulled it up as a drive. I deleted what I needed to off of it, and I was back to work. Something that maybe normally I would have had to have gone and thrown an SD card into a computer or something to clear off some space off of it. So that's pretty nice. Let's see. I've got a couple of gripes, so I'll go through those real quick. One, I found the settings somewhat confusing, and I think it's because I've had problems with some Bluetooth stuff on this thing today. I think it's great that these menus are all contextual. Like this settings is actually based on where you are. So if you're in Internet Explorer, those settings are going to be different than if you're somewhere else. And so they're contextual, and so they don't always have to be on the screen. And I think that's great. But I think it's going to be a little confusing to people that, the biggest spot where you actually change these settings is this link that's here kind of tucked away and hidden in the bottom where you get, to your full-blown settings. So there's a little bit of a disconnect there for me. Obviously, there's a lot more settings in this as well, which you may need to go into the full-blown control panel for. And so to me, the settings is still a little discombobulating. I think the problem was, though, is I was trying to get this Bluetooth speaker to pair. It paired fine, but I'm having problems with it with the pairing kind of not working automatically. I'm having to manually unpair and repair it. It's not actively just switching between the two like I would like it to. And so trying to understand, well, shouldn't I be able to go into devices and choose it as a device? No, you can't. So isn't Bluetooth going to be in here somewhere? No, it's not. Shouldn't there be something about Bluetooth in here? Yeah, devices, but this is just for adding devices. I can't actually troubleshoot it and understand why it's not working. I had to go into old school control panel and see that it was listed as disconnected as an audio device in there, even though the device was telling me that it connected fine. So the Bluetooth stack, while it works, I have to manually pair and unpair the speaker right now, which isn't optimum. I'm going to try it in a little bit with a Bluetooth mouse. I didn't have one handy. I did use a USB mouse on it straight away as well, which was kind of cool. So outside of that gripe about settings, the other gripe I've had so far is with the store. When I first ran the store, actually when I first ran it, I came into it because I was like, oh, I should update everything on here before I start, really playing with the apps. When I came in, it said you don't have an internet connection, and there was a back button, and it said you should retry, and retry was in green, and clicking either the back button or the retry actually ever did anything. I had to close the app and then relaunch the app, at which point it said, oh, you do have an internet connection, and I could run all the updates. But then once I was running all the updates from the screen where it lists every update that's being installed, there's a back button, so I would assume I should be able to go back, but clicking on it did nothing. So I had no way of actually browsing the store while updates were going on, which I think they probably will need to do something about that. You never want to block someone from perusing content. The other thing is this marketplace doesn't support landscape yet, or portrait rather. So, depending on if you go in the app or not, you can or can't use portrait mode, which is, kind of interesting since this is a first party app. So I think they've got some work to do there on the marketplace app, but overall it works pretty well. I wanted to touch real quick on the desktop mode on this. I think, just from using it the last couple of hours, for me, desktop mode is really, it's going to be like an admin mode of sorts. Like, if you've used Windows forever and you know how to get around and do things, then you may drop into this mode to do some kind of admin type tasks, or tasks that you might do on an older computer. But there's a pretty big disconnect from this and the new UI that Microsoft is pushing. But it's a really obvious disconnect. And like I said, I don't think people are going to use this mode except for for kind of admin tasks, which makes it really important for Microsoft to make sure that every setting you need to get to, you can get to without going into this mode. I almost feel like this mode is here almost as a fallback, like a just in case you need to be able to do something. They still want you to have all that access to do it because maybe the new Metro style needs a couple more years before it's fully encompassing. And I think that's a okay thing to understand, but I think a lot of consumers or people in the media will definitely make comment on how discombobulating or different it is to have a desktop and this Metro style. But what I wanted to say about the Metro style was I thought it was interesting they didn't adjust any of the spacings here in Explorer, for instance, to have larger touch areas. I don't know if maybe there's a setting somewhere I can find to do that, but I figure maybe they should have increased that a little bit. I don't know, just my opinion. I also think defaulting to the list view, sometimes you're going to hit the wrong item, or maybe double clicking on an item may be kind of tough at this hit size, so you think maybe it should default to a different view mode like large icons or something like that. But again, I feel like this is almost left here as a just in case you need it, and maybe they didn't do anything to improve it because quite honestly they don't want to encourage people to live in this side of Windows. I think that's probably more likely. For anybody curious, this is a 32 gig version. You only end up with about 15.9 gigs that are usable. It says the hard drive size is 24.9 gigs. I assume it's because there's like a 6 or 7 gig partition with their store partition on it. So 15 gigs of 25 gigs free, and I had about 16 before I installed anything on it. This thing does have flash support, which was good because I wanted to listen to Sirius XM, and Sirius doesn't have an app for this yet. They want to have one on Android and iOS, but not yet on Windows 8. But since it can run flash, I was at least able to go to listen to it on their website using flash. You could tell flash doesn't run at a super great frames per second, like moving some of the sliders and things wasn't super fluid, but it was good enough to let me listen to music and it streamed pretty well. One thing I have noticed that is kind of odd is a difference between the two Internet Explorers. On this Internet Explorer, I don't have one open, but if I had Google Music open or something like that, if I get it playing in the Metro version and then I exit, go back to another app, the audio immediately stops, no matter what app I go into. If I go into even another Metro app, it would stop immediately when I exit Internet Explorer. But if I use the Internet Explorer that's on the desktop to play Flash-based audio, it'll actually keep playing in the background. So it's kind of an interesting quirk that is somewhat surprising, because I was almost expecting the kind of HTML5 options where you can adjust playback and such in this pop-up volume control, but at least I'm able to use Google Play and SiriusXM, even though they don't have apps per se, so that's pretty nice. On the keyboard, I can't say enough about this keyboard. As soon as I pulled it out, as soon as I connected it and tried to type on it, I typed right away on it really fine. The weirdest sensation is just the fact that it has no tactile feedback on it, right? There's no way to actually know you touched something. It's weird. So you don't actually know that you're typing on it, because you don't get any feedback, right? Because there's no clicks. So that's kind of weird. But in the same sense, I got typing on this thing right away really fine. I can easily see doing 50 and 60 words on it already, and I've just started using it. So I can't say enough about this type cover, as they call it, or touch cover as they call it. It's absolutely amazing little keyboard. I am very concerned though that it's going to get really dirty, because it has this kind of felty feel to it. All right, real quick, I want to talk about speakers and games and a couple other things. The speakers, the audio playback on it is fine. It's not super loud, so don't expect that this is going to be like a multimedia machine that you take to your party and just pull it out and everybody hears the music all over your deck. That's not going to happen. You're going to want a Bluetooth speaker for something like that. But I was able to listen to audio on it fine. I listened to the radio on it fine. It would be nice if maybe it turned up a little louder, but again, it was plenty fine for all my normal usage. And I would probably carry around a speaker like that if I wanted to use it for anything more, at a pool scenario or something like that. Speakers work fine on it though. Also, depending on how you hold this thing, if you hold it, like this, your hands are gonna naturally reflect this audio back from the speakers that are right here. So it's actually a lot louder when you're holding it in your lap anyway. And then the other thing I want to touch on is games. So I've got Cut the Rope and I've got Fruit Ninja. Cut the Rope, I believe, was written in HTML5, and it runs fine. Like, I don't think anybody's going to be super upset with it, especially probably the people who play this game. But if you look, you can see it's not running a full 60 frames. I mean, it's running probably closer to like a 24 frames, something like that. So whenever you're playing a game, all the cutscenes and all are all super fast. But from time to time, you may notice that, oh, it's not running like 60 frames a second or anything. But again, this game was written in HTML5, so or at least I'm pretty sure it was. So that's pretty impressive any way you count it. And it never is ever unresponsive. Like, I just closed it straight away and you saw how instant it was. It's perfectly responsive. It's just the frame rate isn't super crispy like a more formal game platform would be. But again, I think that was written in HTML5. This is Fruit Ninja, which looks to be more written like as an actual game, like a 3D game. It looks like it's using OpenGL or something similar to that. And it actually asked me to sign an Xbox Live when I first launched it, which was pretty interesting. I think there's a lot of legs Microsoft is going to have there in the coming years. But this game plays perfectly fine. It also has some areas, mostly when scenarios are switching where you're seeing it's dropping frames. The gameplay is perfectly fine, but you could tell there's probably still some room for optimization, which isn't totally surprising since it's a brand new platform. But for the most part, it seems to play games plenty fine. I would like to try something maybe a little more advanced than these, but I think people are going to be right at home playing games on this thing. And the fact that it has HDMI out and support for USB and Bluetooth does make me wonder if if there's any other things people may do with this with gaming beyond just playing it on that device itself. And again, favorite gesture, just close it just like that. Speaking of gestures, there are some spots where you may find that the gestures may fight against each other, especially when you're trying to get used to this thing. So like, let's say I pull up this website, which MSN just launched this today. It's totally based on what they're doing on Windows 8. It's pretty nice looking, I think. But anyways, let's say that I have this up. If I pull down from the top, that's how you get this menu. But I also pull down from the top to throw the thing away or to dock it. And so, sometimes if you aren't aware that there's these different interactions, you may pull this thing down thinking you're only pulling it down to get to the menu bar, and inadvertently you may close it or pull it out, or same thing if you go like to the photo app, and let's say that you're if I'm going to take a picture, let's see, I don't want that picture. Oh, I think I have to slide over. Yeah, so this is the live feed. There you go, I'm drinking Diet Coke. So if I take a picture and then I slide back here, oh look, I can look at pictures I've taken. That's kind of cool. But if I pull from the edge, well, that just multitasked, right? So it's definitely going to be a little bit of getting used to understand what these gestures are, since there are two swipe left to right here, one from the edge and one from the center. But I don't really think that's going to be a super big issue for people. So I think what people are asking most is what is this? Is it a tablet? Is it a PC? What exactly is it? And I've got a Kindle Fire here. This is my favorite consumption device right now, just because it's a 7-inch. It has a huge bevel, so I can hold it and flail it and use it anywhere I want. That's a lot different from an iPad or a Surface, where these things are big screens, a little bit heavier. So this thing's definitely more of an iPad, more of a Motorola Xoom tablet. I mean, that's this form factor that it's in. It's a 16:9, so it's a little wider or a little taller than the iPad, but movie playback on it is absolutely awesome at this ratio. But one of the things I think this device is going to do is it's totally going to decimate the need to have both, some sort of portable laptop as well as a tablet. Like, I don't see a need to carry both of these devices for traveling or going to conferences. This is my beater computer that I take everywhere I go. I don't care if it gets damaged, and I've got a much better computer that's way too big and heavy to carry everywhere I go. This thing's totally going to replace that computer as well as the tablet for me, because if I need to write up a blog post, or if I need to field emails, I can do 60 words a minute on this keyboard. That said, this thing folds up to the same size as a tablet, and it feels virtually indestructible. So I think what this thing really is this is Microsoft's first tablet. This is the first Windows tablet. People have been saying Microsoft needs to get in the tablet space. Well, they finally are. And what they've come up with, to me, it's definitely in the early stages. I can definitely see where this thing will be more mature in a Windows 9 or a Windows 10. But taking this direction and taking these steps, they're only going to get there by moving that direction. And I think this is a solid first entry in that direction. I'm definitely interested to see how I use this thing going forward. I'm going to play a promo video for a game I have coming out for this device. It's already out for Android and Kindle Fire. Hope you'll check it out, and thanks for watching.